We Culture comes to you compliments Puppets and Grenada Paper Products, manufacturers of Royal, Horizon, and Quick and Easy paper towels and napkins.
You can now send a gift card to your loved ones locally or internationally thanks to the food fair. Here's how it works. Click the gift card icon or banner. Customize your gift card by choosing from different templates, dollar amount, and personalized messages. You can also upload your personal design. Select Add to Cart and complete transaction. Allow relatives and friends to pick up an item or items at the food fair for the dollar value. Gift card. It's that easy.
We support you at every stage of your life.
For business,
For your education,
for your financial freedom.
for that new ride.
Upgrade your life with the Communal. Contact us today.
Valley Pharmacy offers both wholesale and retail pharmaceutical and over-the-counter products. We have the most competitive and affordable prices. We are the agents for Vic Plus multivitamin for healthy everyday lifestyle and Synatogen powder. Hills and Valley Pharmacy supplies the best quality, name brand clinical products such as Rescue Oil, Bio Oil, Neutrogena, Aveeno, and Clarisil. We offer the most convenient opening hours. Our telephone numbers are 435-6904 or 6903. Remember, at Hills and Valley Pharmacy, your health is our business. We care.
Now open Hills and Valley Medicare Center, your one-stop for medical supplies, massage therapy, physiotherapy, and an in-house physician. At Hills and Valley, your health is our business.
Kindly greasy pole, and we don't dance from the maple.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. It is Friday, and so it is time for We Culture. This evening, we have a very special program for you. Maybe not as light as you're accustomed to, but this evening we're going to delve deep into our past, of course. And, the past does have a way of sort of shaping the future or guiding the future in a sense. And we're going back to 1983, ever since the events of October 19th, 1983. Every year when that time comes around, there is the debate, whether that public holiday that we know to be Thanksgiving on the 25th, whether or not it should be on the 19th or on the 25th of October. Well, presently, it is the 25th. But that debate has always gone on, and there are people who have different feelings on that. And so this evening, we will be looking at that on our program. Of course, things have a way of shaping our culture, the way we do things, the way we live, all of that. And we do expect to be joined by Mr. Arley Gill this evening. We have not seen him yet, but I trust he will be joining us shortly. And he's someone that has written extensively on that, very much involved in culture and history. And so we expect him to join us this evening to, give us his views on this whole debate that has been ongoing, and I'm sure it will continue for a while. So the team is here. Of course, we want to welcome our listeners on K105 FM, our viewers on GBN Television, our Facebook page, and also on our YouTube channel. We welcome you. So let's welcome the team. Scholar is here. Livingston is here with us. We're not sure that we will be joined by Reece this evening. She's had some engagements that, she has to attend to. So once she gets through with that, then definitely she will join us. If not, then of course next week she definitely will be with us. Well, I think Mr. Gill is joining us now. So of course once he's on, of course his welcome will be extended. So Scholar, how are you going, man?
I deal with them.
All right.
I deal with them.
Well, you can't.
One day at a time with Jesus. That's all I'm asking from you.
All right, that's all right. Doc, how are you going?
I can't ask for nothing more.
Pretty good. Can't complain. As this Scholar looking like a militia day. Just want to say good night to all the listeners, and tonight it seems like we're going down a very historical road. So Godfrey, let us give it gas, as the story say.
Well, of course, and we've been joined now by Mr. Arley Gill. Mr. Gill, good evening and welcome to We Culture for the first time.
Thank you so much, and present good evening to all of your panelists and all of your listeners. Present good night to everyone.
Right, it is indeed a pleasure to have you with us. I know we've had discussions in the past about having you on, and I think now is the ideal time to get your feet wet onto the program. So what I can guarantee you, going forward, we will be calling you pretty often. So get yourself accustomed to being on We Culture.
We Culture.
That's right. So we're gonna start. We're gonna start ever since 1983. Of course, with the events that took place on October 19th, there has been the debate, and people have their own take on it. Whether the holiday, the Thanksgiving holiday that we now celebrate on October 25th, should remain there, or should it have been October 19th? And that debate continues. And like I said, different people, they have different opinions, different take, they have different justifications for all of that. And we know that you have written extensively on it, and so we would like to get your view on all of that this evening. So we're going to start with you, Mr. Gill.
Yes. Many years ago, when I was still a student, I wrote an article entitled Thanksgiving What? And I remain of the same view and the same perspective. October 25th, which really marks the U.S. invasion of Grenada, we first of all need to appreciate that whether or not we agree or we disagree with the United States invasion of Grenada on October 25, 1983. It is fundamentally, or was fundamentally, a violation of international law. There is no legal justification for the U.S. invasion of Grenada. But apart from that, October 19th is one of the watershed moments in Grenadian history where we would have had a prime minister, government ministers, and other persons who died. And that, of course, would have changed the course of modern Grenadian history forever. That, to my mind, is a watershed moment in Grenadian history, and in fact, it is what would have led to October 25th. It is a root cause, so to speak. So how then can you celebrate the branch and not the root? I think that, and I suggested that, and I still have the same view, that October 19th can well be what we refer to as Heroes Day in Grenada, where we celebrate the life and contribution of all our heroes and heroines. From our Kalinago people, Julia Fedor, to Uriah Boss Butler, Eric Geary, from right up throughout the years. We have failed miserably post-independence to commemorate the contributions of our standing men and women throughout Grenada history. And I believe that October 19th provides us with an excellent opportunity to do so. So that will be my opening comments at this point.
All right, lovely. Scholar, I ain't coming to you yet. Let's go to the doc, because I know the doc is ready. I don't know if you'll be challenging Mr. Gill tonight, or he's on the same course. So Doc, the mic is yours.
Well, let me just say welcome, Ambassador Arley Gill, to We Culture. Some very interesting observations, an interesting choice of words, I would say, in describing some of it. Let me say, without taking a direct stand as of now, because at the midway through the program, I definitely would give my strong view onto Rich Day. But let me start with October the 25th. Now, October 25th, pretext for October 25th was an internal event that led to the demise of the revolution. So October 25th, in a sense, cannot stand on its own to, in my mind, to say readily as an invasion. The reason why I didn't say an invasion, I would quicker say an intervention. The reason why I say an intervention is that the level, the chaos that was taking place in Grenada was such that it kind of forces the international community, well, the US, to step in. Just like I would say that what happened in certain parts of the world when the world intend to get involved in other person's affairs, be it famine in one place, drought in the next place, a hurricane devastation, the foreign or the international community may so step in to add the 2 cents or to add some help. Just like what happened during Ivan here. We had situation where we got help from other persons, both material and human persons. So because of that, the nature of the event, I would say that it is more one of an intervention rather than a straight out invasion. Now, the optics as it relates to the 25th is probably not looking good. Meaning, when I say the optics, I want to say that for any time you have a holiday, if you want to say you're celebrating a holiday, you need to be very clear as to the rationale. So in our case, you must have a hero who are the martyrs. So if you want to go to the 19th, you must have the martyrs, and then you must have the villain, who are the villains. So if we celebrate, say, on the 19th, the people that get gunned down, executed, murdered, we must elevate them to the position of being heroes or martyrs. And then on the other side, we must name those that execute or kill as villains, traitors. So we had a revolution. Were those people counter-revolutionary? Did they kill because of jealousy? Did they kill because they were paid by a foreign power? So I think in that whole identification or the justification for holiday, we must pin down some very strong jargons to identify one, those that we're gonna call heroes, as Ali mentioned, we could have a heroes day. That I would challenge a little bit later, because I believe that the 19th is so powerful by itself that I don't see any other person or group of persons getting their day or they say on a day like the 19th. Not that we shouldn't have a heroes day, but on the 19th itself, the event was so dramatic that I believe it speaks enough. There are too many persons on that day alone. So I guess I would complete my other thought as it relates to that. This is just an opening. But I believe we must be definite. If we were to say on the 19th, do we have heroes and do we have villains? And how do we describe those we consider to be the villains? So I'll stop here for now, Godfrey.
Okay. So Finley, is your turn?
Yeah. Well. Let me welcome my very good partner, Ambassador Gill in America. If he's in America, and I make reference to America purpose.
Eat safe foods after an emergency or disaster. Unsafe foods can make you sick, even if it looks and smells normal. Throw away foods that come into contact with flood waters, have an unusual smell, color, or texture, and foods in damaged, rusted, or swollen cans. A message from the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council in collaboration with the Ministry of Health with support from the Pan American Health Organization.
Level of convenience and comfort awaits you when you shop at Rise and Shine Supermarket and Hardware Supplies, Griffin Lane, Grenville. Convenient, because we are open Sunday to Sunday. We're even at your service on public holidays. Comfort, because we are easily accessible to the physically challenged. Free Wi-Fi is available while you shop, and bags come at no charge. Everyday low prices and excellent customer care. Adequate parking available. We supply everything you can possibly think of. Family and home supplies, fresh meat, vegetables, and personal care products. All brands of cooking gas at affordable prices. You can send in your order, have it pulled, or pick up express.
Get ready for Sunday, October 31st from 6 p.m. as Megaforce Promotions presents the 31st edition of YT Virtual Bingo.
This time you can win
$12,000. Wow! Tickets cost only $12. But wait, if you purchase 2 tickets, you only pay $20. Get your tickets now from numerous box offices island-wide in Grenada. Or if you're playing overseas, tickets are only available at gotobet.com. Sunday, October 31st. Join the fun online when you play YT Virtual Bingo. The new way to play bingo.
What does it take to be an amazing woman? Lots of me time. Amazing women are classy, fancy, and a little sassy. It's the drink for me. Cheers! Sometimes you've got to show them who's boss. Alpha male? Nah, alpha females are more amazing. Cheers to securing the bag. We make time for ourselves, for work, friends, and we certainly make time for passion. We're simply amazing. Amazing cream liqueur for the amazing woman in you.
You can now send a gift card to your loved ones locally or internationally thanks to the food fair. Here's how it works. Click the gift card icon or banner. Customize your gift card by choosing from different templates, dollar amount, and personalized messages. You can also upload your personal design. Select Add to Cart and complete transaction. Allow relatives and friends to pick up an item or items at the food fair for the dollar value. Gift card. It's that easy.
Kindly greasy pole, and we don't dance on the maypole.
Okay, welcome back, folks, and we do apologize for that. Something went wrong and we just lost our connection, so we do apologize again. So we're back, and Scholar, you were about to make your contribution. Once you started, we lost it, so you would have to go from the top because we didn't hear anything that you were saying.
Well, basically, I was welcoming Ambassador, Senator, or whatever name you title you choose to give him, Arley Gill, really, and to speak of all of his exploits, especially his cultural exploits in Grenada. He's one of the foremost cultural figures. He has worn many hats, and he has written extensively about Grenada, its culture, calypso, you name it. He has done so. And in a country where this is lacking, we hate to write, to chronicle things. We've spoken of that time and time again on We Culture. It's very good that we have somebody who is not afraid to put pen to paper. I know I have that problem for my own self. I don't even put pen to paper in singing Kaishu, you know, I just think it from my head. So putting pen to paper is a difficult skill and an art. And often enough, you will see him writing plenty articles, I guess, with a picture with that same clothes that you have on him there tonight. That is his signature. That is his signature picture.
He called your shot. He called your shot.
That culture dashiki. That is his signature. So that alone tells you the signature goes with it. So it's a package that you're getting. In terms of the discussion, I want to say simply, that we've been discussing We Culture, and though we spell it OUI with a kind of Kaiso kind of slant, kind of poetic thing to it, but it also signifies WE, our culture, right? And when you think of October 25th as against October 19th, we had a program last year, and I think Doc would have hit the nail when he spoke, but maybe he has forgotten that we sort of got consensus from our contributors as to what October 25th was. Was it an invasion or was it liberation? You remember that program?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, indeed.
And the majority of our contributors would have felt that it was an invasion and not really a liberation. I remember it very well. And I think it is from that standpoint that you have to first of all start looking at it. But also that we have missed a lot of opportunities in Grenada, really, to design and to craft a culture that is ours, something that is unique, what we don't say uniquely Grenadian. Mm-hmm. So if we think of the whole thing of Thanksgiving Day, where have we heard that before? Where did this come from? And I guess the name of the day, it is significant, but it is not significant for us in terms of if we liberated from whatnot, because just the nomenclature, the name of the day, is synonymous to America, to USA. Mm-hmm. That's who has Thanksgiving. So even from that standpoint, you feel to yourself that this was given to us. And probably as we delve into this weak culture and we try to shape our own culture and so on, we are seeing so many of the vestiges of the white man culture and what he has crammed down our throat that we hold dearly to, and we do not seem to want to let go of it. And this is just, to me, another one of those that were recently given to us, and we grab hold of it, and man will fight for this Thanksgiving thing that is actually an American thing, where that is when what they just do that time, pumpkin, I don't know, they always had
turkey.
Kill turkey.
Yeah, kill turkey and all this kind of thing. I'm surprised we don't kill turkey here as well. But really,
I thought we were killing yard fall.
We might not kill yard fall. But really, you just get the sense that this is just not ours. It was given to us, you know, right. and it is from that standpoint that I would want to make my opening remarks.
Mm-hmm. But let me ask Scholar. So are you? I'm trying to understand, and I get what you're saying, and I agree with you to some extent. But are you saying the 25th for an holiday or for the holidays okay, but they should probably change this Thanksgiving thing and make it something that relates more to us?
No.
I'm just asking. Mm-hmm.
I know you're just asking, but I'm not saying that at all. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, why we don't give we own self with it instead of they giving it to us? That is the problem. Because you can't doubt that it's they who give it to us.
But it's not how culture works sometimes. I mean.
Well, it's how culture works sometimes. I agree with that. But why can't we as Grenadians create our own thing? So in other words, and I'm picking back directly on Senator. Well, I'll interchange Senator Ambassador. I don't know which one to call you, but I will piggyback on what the senator would have said, right? We have a unique opportunity, really, to have a holiday or whatever you want to call it that signifies and exemplifies and defines, right, when Grenadians, right, would have lost their lives, really. And the truth is that when October 25th is chronicled, it is not even chronicled properly from a Grenadian standpoint. So you hear of October 25th and you have plaque where they go and lay thing on Americans for Americans who died. What happened? Have we heard and has it ever been chronicled as to the Grenadians who died? Because okay, it's our thing. What happened to the Grenadians? I don't hear about this thing. Who died? I know where Senator Gill comes from in that part of the island. A lot of our brothers, Grenadians from that side of the island would have perished then, right? But we don't get that side of history. So it is just as history is being remade and reworked for us, just as them guys and them white fellas and them Dupake and them from way back. They wrote the history and gave it to us of what they did to the Caribs, you know. Until us Caribs leave from town, Caribs leave from Grand, right? Caribs leave from all about, and all man run and they go over on top Lipas Hill and they heave down. You understand? So they have always been chronicling this thing and giving it to us. And that's my whole issue with this thing. What happened? We're celebrating October 25th. Are we celebrating anything Grenadian in October 25th? What happened to the Grenadians who died? To the Grenadians who perished? What were they according to Doc? Were they villains? You see, so we have a unique opportunity here to celebrate something that is truly Grenadian. But I guess we don't see it that way.
All right. So, Ambassador Gill, we're coming back to you. You've heard what both Doc and Scholar said. Let's start putting all of this in the context and get the discussion going. And a little later on, we're going to engage our listeners and viewers.
I would respond to Mr. Nelson's opening remarks by an old Grenadian saying, "We papa." Foot. When you say we culture, we patois means yes. So when we say we papa, we foot. So an old Grenadian say expression. Yeah, we papa refers to, exclamation or an expression of surprise. So we scholar really means yes. So we papa, we foot. I would say to Mr. Nelson that the issue of whether or not Grenada, the U.S. invasion of Grenada is not a matter of opinion. It's not a matter of opinion whether it was an invasion or intervention. That's a gross misconception of history. And it ought not to be uttered anymore by Grenadians on national media. It's not a matter of opinion, sir. It's a matter of fact, historical fact. And I will say to you, on October 29, 1983, United Nations Security Council voted 11 against 1. One being the United States, which exercised veto power. The Security Council approved a resolution deeply deploring the United States-led invasion of Grenada as a flagrant violation of international law. That's a fact. A couple days later, the United Nations General Assembly voted 108 to 11, with only the United States and Israel and so on voting in support of the United States invasion of Grenada at the United Nations. The United Kingdom and so on voted deeply deploring the violation of international law. That's a statement of fact. It's not one of opinion. And it was not the action of the United Nations in 1983. Indeed, Chapter 1 of the United Nations speaks to the act of self-determination. The United States itself came out of a revolution, my brother. That's a historical fact. Society evolves. All country evolves. The United States is the mother of all revolutions. Cuba had a revolution, and Cuba revolution must be respected by other states. France had a revolution. Grenada had a revolution. And it is not for when countries have a revolution that other countries interfere. That violates the principles of self-determination as set out in Chapter 1 of the United Nations Charter. So that's not a matter of opinion. So let's get it absolutely straight and not say that to our children and to our grandchildren.
Ambassador Gill, can I just butt in? You made reference, you made a number of references as to where there were revolutions and that country ought not to get involved, for want of a better word. But when the US and other forces came into Grenada, it wasn't a revolution. It was carnage. It was a case where a prime minister and some of his cabinet ministers and children were gunned down. How do you let?
Yeah. No. Yes, the revolution, as we know it, implored. The leadership of the revolution fought among themselves, and some persons died, including the prime minister and ministers of government, and that is unfortunate.
I agree.
Justified. But you may find throughout history that in societies, as societies evolve, you will find that leaders die. And it is not for other countries to say, look at what they're doing there. Let us invade. That's why we have seen our societies rising from the ashes and so on.
So what would you?
No one is to speak of the illegality of the U.S. invasion is not a justification for what happened on the 4th and October 19. Don't confuse the two issues.
No. I'm just asking here now. I'm not confusing it. I'm just trying to get a perspective because and just looking at what actually happened on October 19th. Students were killed. What do you suggest should have happened then? Because we don't know, and I guess we probably will never know what may have happened following what took place on the 4th and October 19th. What would you suggest, or what do you suggest should have happened there, other than outside forces coming into Grenada?
You know what I suggest should have happened? I mean, hindsight is always 20/20. The fact remains that the U.S. forces came. But when you look throughout history, basically, you'll find that societies actually resolve themselves. It's like nature. It's like a hurricane. I remember after Hurricane Ivan, when he went to Bathway, all the sand on the beach was up in the road. You don't see that anymore. The sand went back where it belonged. It's like nature correcting itself. Now, none of us could say what would have happened if the United States did not invade the country. But one can only project that basically the society itself, the government itself would have resolved itself some way or the other. And that's the issue, that's the whole issue of self-determination. You see, the society learns to govern itself through whatever system that evolves over a period of time. Yes, it was days of uncertainty. No one knew what would have happened. Yes, a popular leader perished, would have died. You know, Morris was a man of the people and so on. And the RMC, well, Grenada never knew anything about no RMC. We want to be leader, basically. So no one knew for certain what would have transpired. But that does not justify the breach of international law by the United States. That's the point. And societies, and that's the point I'm making, and societies evolve over time. We never knew. We never know what would have transpired.
But at what cost, Ambassador?
Other societies
hold on, Doc, I'll come to you.
Would have gone through a process where the leaders would have died and so on and so forth, and they survived. The story is that the Prime Minister of Dominica at the time, Eugenia Charles, as chairman of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, invited Ronald Reagan to invade. The OECS Charter does not give any Prime Minister that power. That's the point. You know, the OECS chairperson could not have invited a foreign power to invade any member state. This is just strictly legally speaking, that's what it is. And so there was absolutely no legal authority for the United States to invade Grenada. That is just a statement of fact.
No, I totally agree with that. I agree with that, and
yes, that's what it is.
I agree with that.
Just to comment on Scholar's point as well, Thanksgiving Day is a United States tradition. And it is a classic case where the conqueror gave the conquered that particular tradition. The United States gave Grenada Thanksgiving. We never had nothing but Thanksgiving. We have no Thanksgiving tradition and so on. Do you really believe Caribs live in Brazil? What happened in 1651 is genocide. That's what happened. The French killed out the Kalinago people. And I don't refer to the Caribs as Caribs, the Kalinago people. It's genocide of the Kalinagos. And the French, as the conqueror, wrote the story. Kalinagos leaping on the Brazil and leaping to their own deaths. Leap to their own deaths, what? The Kalinagos were exterminated by the French.
Okay, let's bring in Doc. Doc wanted to make some comments here.
I sometimes, for another fact, you look around, you see there is no nation. There is no nation on earth right now. Probably the closest is North Korea that lives in their own bubble. We have a series of international treaties, international organizations, and the reason for that, for those organizations, is for everyone to coexist, hopefully as peacefully as possible. So, Senator Gill, I'm not here advocating for the 25th. I was throwing out some concerns. I was thrown out at different directions from what was going on. But I'm also aware that we do not live just in our own special bubble. We live in a world. Grenada Revolution, for matter of fact, with Maurice, was not just a Grenadian phenomenon. It was far-reaching, way beyond the region, way beyond the international community. For matter of fact, internationally, Maurice was the revolution. Maurice was the ultimate revolutionary. Contrary to what some of the members of the RNC or the CC felt, Maurice was that person. And Maurice was reaching out to other organizations internationally. In Grenada today, and like all the other islands in the region, we are tied into this international community where we sometimes see aid. We have IMF, we have the UN, etc. So in terms of the legal jargon, yes, I would agree with you that it was probably not just an intervention. But if we were to look strictly at the 19th, and I find it difficult for you to put it in what I would call in strong perspective. Grenada was, in a sense, selling its ideology outside. We had help from other international organizations in helping to build the Grenada Revolution. And rightfully so, that was the nature of the day. That is what is happening even today. But on the 19th, we reach a situation where we have two ideological divides. And there was a clash. And in order to continue or spreading further bloodshed, we needed outside help. We needed help from outside. Because the forces that were gathered against Maurice Bishop, the forces that lined them up against the wall and executed them, they didn't hide no crossfire. They were lined up and executed. Those forces seemed poised to further eradicate more other persons within the community, other counter-revolutionaries. For matter of fact, there was at least one or two persons were already arrested. Now, the point I'm trying to make with all that is that if we look squarely at October 19th, it is a Grenadian issue. It is a Grenadian issue. The revolution imploded. But at the way things were happening in Grenada, I believe it was difficult for us just to stand on our own. Now, I must agree that in terms of the holiday, that is the main topic, we cannot have an imposition from our next country telling us, well, that is the day. But if we have a holiday in Grenada, we must be aware, we must agree at some time, and that is where the discussion must continue. We must agree that some persons must be termed heroes or martyrs. We must agree that those that execute must be considered as counter-revolutionaries or villains. Because if you want to go back to 1651, it was the French that came and executed and killed the Kalinagos. The Kalinagos was resisting, so the Kalinagos were the martyrs. The Kalinagos was resisting, protecting the land. Now, what was happening on the 19th? So I believe not just saying emotionally we have to name the 19th as the day that should be designated. We must have a justification. We must have an explanation. We must put it in context so everybody will understand, well, these are the heroes that get executed and they were killed by villains, so they were killed by counter-revolutionaries, because the revolution, as far as everybody was concerned, ended with the execution of Maurice Bishop. So I wanted to say that. I also just want to go to on the 25th. Now, on the 25th, the optics is wrong. we have a plaque for, they say 19 US soldiers that were killed, that were killed during that time. What happened to the Cubans? What happened to the Grenadian soldiers, as Paula just said? So on the 25th, you cannot celebrate what somebody did for you as your main holiday. Imagine if we turn it around and say the day when France invaded America, that is the day America would give us holiday. So I agree with that. We cannot have that and as our day to celebrate, because in optics it is wrong. But on the 19th, we must come full-fledged and put justification for the 19th as our holiday. That is the main statement I would like to make.
Finley?
Hey, you want me to comment on that?
Well, of course.
Well, just before I comment, somebody just sent me a WhatsApp, yeah? And I guess it's to refute and probably to rearrange my ignorance a bit. And in it, they have some plaque that was put up in loving memory of, and you have some names here, right? And let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 Grenadian names. And then it goes on to say, and that, so in loving memory of these 14 people, and that of other unknown Grenadian combatants who died defending Grenada during the US-led invasion in October 1983. May the memory of their heroic sacrifice forever live. So I guess they send that to me to show that
but Finley, I don't want to cut you, but just to say, let us debunk the myth of the US led. Who the US led?
Right. So
Caribbean forces came in after the United States successfully overthrew the Grenada forces. US-led invasion gives the notion that there were other forces involved on the 25th. But it's not US-led, as if there was such a coalition and so on. The United States always paint this picture as if there is coalition. In Grenada, in 1983, it is the United States forces, not no led forces. After they secured and they overthrew the Grenadian forces, the Jamaican forces and so on came in after to put color or image of what transpired. It's not a US-led invasion. It's a myth. I just want to make that point.
It's a
United States propaganda still affects our thinking and what we write about our own history.
And that's precisely where I was going with that, because it's a big plaque. I figure they spend a lot of money on that to write this thing. So it's a big plaque. And as you're saying, it has the US-led thing. But it also says, interestingly, and other unknown Grenadian combatants. I mean, we are a country of 100,000 or less, or maybe a tick more. What kind of unknown it could have in Grenada? No.
When you're talking about the Grenadian combatants, because there are stories, there are documents, well-researched documents that shows a few Grenadians died, and it seemed like no one came to claim that the sons or the daughters, or maybe the sons died. I mean, they were fighting, taking place in the south of the island. A good number of Grenadians died around the Bushes U area. And I don't know if I am just not exposed.
Doc, you cut me, so I'm cutting you back. Who researched that?
There is a book written now by one named Maurice Patterson.
Man, let me tell you something. If Grenadians die, even if nobody can claim them, people know somebody in the city.
But scholar, where has it been recorded? Where are the names?
Well, that's what I'm telling you. So you see, that's the problem with this whole thing, is who led this thing, is who blowing the pipe on this thing, who blowing that pipe organ. We never blew this thing. So let us blow it. Let us blow it. hold on. We have always heard, right? And from where we sit, and Grenadians who've witnessed this war, right, can tell you that every time they hear that there are just troops, because we've heard and it's chronicled that 27 American soldiers died. Now, who did this what you're saying, the identification of this and that and that, but it's well chronicled that 27 American soldiers died. You believe 27 American soldiers died?
I believe there was more. Based on all the accounts, I believe there was more.
But you see, who telling this story?
Allow me to come in here, Finley. Could you just read over the plaque or the Grenadians who died, how were they referred to?
They were referred to as combatants.
And how are the Americans referred to, those that died?
I don't know, because I ain't seen that.
They were referred to as soldiers. Does that ring a bell? The person who, if you look at the recent war with ISIS, the Americans refer to them as illegal combatants. Why are we referring to our soldiers, Grenadian soldiers who fought against the United States in 1983 as combatants? Comrade, they were soldiers, they were not combatants. Combatants denotes something lesser than being soldiers. And why are we documenting our history like that? Why would somebody put a plaque referring to our Grenadian soldiers as combatants, as if they were wrong to defend their country? That's the point. And it speaks to our level of consciousness. Everybody, combatants. How do you, and what, Monday, somebody will go and lay flowers by this thing? In honor of what? Combatants? Comrade, you have to correct this history. Correct this history. And comrade, you would notice that I've refused to smile all night. Because I have a facial disfigurement. If I smile or laugh, it's because I find nothing funny about it. The soldiers who fought in 1983 ought not to and cannot be referred to as combatants. They was given a rightful title as soldiers.
Godfrey.
Yeah, let me. Yes.
Fully scholar. And I agree with you fully that this thing about unknown soldiers, what?
Not unknown soldiers.
Country of 100,000. I could say to Livingston that the soldiers who perished in the Busheshu battle, which I am doing some research on, they came from my community.
Right. Let me just take a couple. We have some.
Godfrey could hold on a while.
Godfrey, let Ali finish that talk.
Godfrey could hold on a while.
Yeah.
Those who died in 1983, the Grenadian soldiers, they had mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, nene and parents. Unknown what. Well, if they died, if they go missing foot and hand and so on missing, that tears were shed for them. No, we must take time off as a country to correctly and properly document our history.
But Ali, we're saying the same thing. That is what I'm saying. Where are the names? Have we made a collective effort to record or to chronicle? You know, that is the point I was aiming at.
Let Godfrey read out some things.
Okay, let me take some comments. Someone said, Godfrey, good night. What took place on October 19th was initiated by the American, so there are no surprise that they came on the 25th. Someone else is saying, Godfrey, do you mean to say that for all these years we were taught a lie about the Carib's death? Someone else said, the Americans didn't present the remains because they didn't want a martyrs rally every year. Someone else is saying, Mr. Gill, this was quite different to a hurricane. This was evil doing. Just imagine you kill your own leader who encouraged his soldiers to kill innocent people. Do you believe in the saying that what you sow, that you reap? We were helpless in Grenada. Thank God for those who came to our assistance. Maurice Bishop's own father was sacrificed. If not, why did they arrest someone for his death? Stop trying to fool us. Someone else says, can you tell me how many Grenadians died during this period? And finally, good night to all. I'm a regular fan of We Culture and look forward to the program, but tonight too heavy. I need the light topics for relief of the stresses of these days. Keep up the good works. So that's some of the comments on the WhatsApp platform. Let me just see if I can pull up some on the Facebook. All right, so right, someone says here, Mr. Gill has got to be joking. If the invasion didn't happen as quickly as it did, God alone knows what further mayhem would have taken place in the country. I totally agree that as a country, the celebration of Thanksgiving is a farce and in no way pays respect to the unfortunate period of our history. However, I thank God for that intervention. I also want to add that the holiday should be October 19th. Jose is saying good night. 1 is missing. Guest on the program, I realize Scholar is a PRA tonight. Rhonda is saying, why don't you all get people who know the real history of Grenada Revolution to discuss? Richard is saying it was a straight out invasion. Honesto says, I think the soldiers who died on the 25th should be recognized as heroes who fought for what they believed or what they believe in and gave their lives for. And that's in Grenada. And I also thank those on the 25th. I think those on the 25th should be martyrs. So that's about it for now on the Facebook. Somebody else saying good night and so on and so forth. So, gentlemen, let's take our commercial break. When we come back, we will continue the discussion and then we'll take some of the calls because the phone has been going for quite a while. So stay with us. We'll be back with you in just a moment.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCour Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Our upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment as you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest. Visit or call LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
You can now send a gift card to your loved ones locally or internationally thanks to the food fair. Here's how it works. Click the gift card icon or banner, customize your gift card by choosing from different templates, dollar amount, and personalized messages. You can also upload your personal design. Select Add to Cart and complete transaction. Allow relatives and friends to pick up an item or items at the food fair for the dollar value. Gift card. It's that easy.
This is a message from the Ministry of Health. If you or a family member suspect that you may have contracted COVID-19 and are displaying symptoms, please immediately self-isolate at home. This means that you must also avoid all contact with other members of your household. Do not visit hospitals or health centers, as this creates the potential for further spread of the virus, and it puts additional persons at risk when you come into contact with them. Your best course of action is to call the COVID-19 hotline at 458-4787 or 538-4787, or contact your nearest health center or medical station. Once your information has been received, health officials will come to you. Help prevent the spread of COVID-19. This has been a message from the Ministry of Health.
Kindly greasy pole, and we don't dance on the maypole.
Welcome back, folks. It's We Culture, and tonight we're looking at the debate that has been ongoing whether the holiday that we celebrate as Thanksgiving should be October 19th or October 25th. I have a question I want to ask Mr. Gill before I let you all go on with the discussion. And I'm going back to of course what happened on the Fort George and so on. But I am having difficulty understanding what should have happened then as it relates to, one, the Grenadian people and getting the country back to some form of stability. Because as we all agree, we do not know what may have happened. There is one person who believes that if it was allowed to continue, then a particular village in the country may have been liquidated. I don't know, but and we all don't know. But the thing is, something had to happen. I do not, based on what had happened, when you have students, leaders been shot down. I believe something should have happened. I am not here to decide whether it should have been an invasion or whatever. But Mr. Gill, help us out here. I cannot buy the fact that this thing should have remained as it was going, so that the country could have, bounce back from that and get itself going. I think, one, being a small country and being so close to almost everybody in Grenada is family, I have difficulty understanding that. What should have happened then to bring back stability to the country?
Let me answer it this way. And for the person who would have commented with regards to saying that, let me tell you something. After the US invasion in 1983, there was an old man in the village who ran through the village in celebrations with a shell, an old fisherman. We call him Boli. There's an old gay right too. Ran through the village saying thank God for Papa Reagan. And we little boys and girls masqueraded behind him, repeating his chants. Now, listeners and viewers need to appreciate that the issue of the US invasion of Grenada being a violation of international law is an intellectual discussion. Yeah? It is not an attempt to justify the events of October 19, 1983. And it does not speak to which side of the divide you support or belong to. It has nothing to do with that. It is simply saying that when you look at the provisions of international law and so on, that it does not conform to international norms and standards. So persons must look at the discussion and appreciate the academics of it. And it's not in any way to justify in some way or the other 1980, what happened on October 19th. Godfrey, to answer your question specifically, no one knows. I mean, you know, it's as Livingston pointed out, and I'm from a village or community where I know for a fact that some soldiers who was perceived to be so strong supporters of Morris, who was on the fort with Morris and so on, and who escaped, had to hide for their lives for days to prevent being arrested or executed, whatever may have happened to them. So I do not know, no one knew exactly what would have transpired if the United States did not invade Grenada. No one knew. I mean, you know, that's just the fact of it. And it's difficult, if not impossible, to answer your question of exactly what should have happened. In 1979, the NJM successfully overthrew the government. And thank God that happened in a few hours. What would have happened if what would have happened if it was over a much longer period? What would have happened if it was a bloody revolt? No one knew what would have happened. But Grenada had a revolution in 1979. The government was overthrown, and we had a period of 1979 to 1983 that I believe generally Grenada was better off for it in terms of the improvements, in terms of education, health, the construction of an international airport, and so on. But if that struggle on March 13, 1979 was a bloody one, was over a long protracted period, what would have happened? Would we say that a foreign power should have come in? So there is no definitive answer on these issues. All I'm saying is that, listen, when you look throughout history, and it's a fact of evolution of societies, most societies, developed societies now, including the United States itself, and all throughout Europe, if you're a student of European history, you would have studied all these different religious wars, the 30 Years' War and so on. And this World War I and World War II, there is no such things. These were European wars. That is what it was. It's only referred to as world wars because the European powers at the time had all these colonies. They had divided up Africa and the Caribbean and South America and so on. That is how this World War thing came about. But this World War I and World War II was essentially European conflicts. That's what it was. And look at how the European societies have evolved and developed from their own conflicts, and you know, hundreds and thousands of Europeans died in their own ethnic. We don't call them. How do we refer to those conflicts in Africa? Tribal war. World War I and World War II was essentially European tribal wars. That's what it was, in real essence. As I said, the Caribbean, African countries, and South American countries and so on was only involved to the extent that we were a part of these European empires. We were essentially colonies. So I don't take part, for instance, when they have all these remembrance things for Grenadian soldiers who fought in the Second World War. I don't take part in these events. What business of it was for us to fight for the United Kingdom, who at the time had us as a colony and enslaved our forefathers? I say no more at this time. But that's a general question.
Okay.
We've seen how societies who have evolved through conflicts, and European and American societies, they went through this. Grenada, of course, is a small society, and we were part of it, so it directly impacts us, of course. But I'm saying to viewers and listeners and so on, you need to appreciate the intellectual discourse and simply do not get too emotional. It's not an issue of 83, which divide you belong to, and so on and so forth. The point I'm making generally is that you cannot find legal justification for the U.S. invasion in 1983, and that's just simply a historical fact.
Okay, Doc, you wanted to come in with something just before we go to the telephone?
Because I actually believe soon we should engage our listeners. And you know, Ali, most of what Ali is saying, I'm in agreement with a lot of what he said. But the only thing I find a little bit difficult to understand is that the fact that we should be, in a nutshell, he's saying that we should be left alone in order to, to develop our society. And I remember there was the war in Rwanda, and a lot of African countries wish they could, make an interjection, something to help to prevent this real excessive bloodshed. Again, you go back to the apartheid system in South Africa, and the ANC, they were calling on other nations to help in order to root out this evil apartheid system. So yes, at one, you might have those big powers. You can't really just get into the affairs. So we are at a level of a disadvantage. We are at a disadvantage. But when things are happening and the forces, the power that Grenadians, the soldiers, the RMC had, the firepower they had at the time, it was going to lead, in my mind, to a lot of bloodshed of regular Grenadians. And to a lot of persons, including somebody like me from the Tivoli area that was considered as, the whole village was considered to be counter-revolutionary. Over 3,000 persons were arrested, and it was deemed that they were arrested because they didn't share the view and opinions of those people that are now in power. So you have the two groups operating within the revolution, and this other group that wanted more heavy manners, now in control. They seem to have weapons that is way beyond our means. It's like the Caledagos fighting against the French with a bow and arrow, and they had the guns. So in a sense, the assistant people felt this man in your village that was jumping up, adding, he foresee that there was going to be serious bloodshed if we did not get the help. I mean, the agenda of the Americans are clear. They're not here generally to help us, but on that day, I can tell you a lot of persons, I mean, they were jumping up for joy because we were saved, it was believed, from an extreme devastation and bloodshed that was going to take place in Grenada. In a nutshell, we are in a global village. We don't exist by ourselves, and sometimes, my brother, we need help. We need help from outside.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to the telephone and let's engage some of our listeners. We Culture, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening, caller. Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Caller, hold a second. Let me tell you what I think you do. Could you turn the volume of your device, maybe your radio or TV that you're listening to, and listen to us on the telephone? Because if not, you're going to kind of get confused. You're going to get a delayed...
okay, I've already done so.
Okay.
Okay, I'd just like to get back to the initial question as to when the holiday should be. And to address that, I've heard a lot of the pronouncements of the parties there. But one has to consider that on the 19th, some people were very sad and sorry. Some people rejoice because, remember, it is Comrade Morris's comrades who be it the killing of Morris or the overthrow of Gary or the invasion of America, all of them at some point would have been considered illegal. My thing is, let us not look for heroes, whether it be Bishop or Code or Austin or Eugenia Charles or Reagan or whoever. Let us not look for heroes. There probably were no heroes there. Right? What we have to understand is that between the 19th and the 25th, a lot of Grenadians died. And I believe that is what we have to look at. Right? Those were extremely dark days. So whichever side of your coin you like, or whichever side your Clorox have to wash, is not important at this juncture. It is a fact that a lot of Grenadians died. It was really dark days, and there was a suggestion a couple of years ago, which to me can address that. And that suggestion, can't remember if it's by who, was that you should celebrate or be sad or whatever, or recognize the first Monday that falls between the 19th and the 25th, because that was a destructive week, right? And therefore it would be, to me, solve everyone's problems, whether it is the Codite, the Bishopite, the Reaganite, the Garyite, the whoever. It would help everyone to not identify a particular day, but that period, that week between the 19th and the 25th, when a lot of us died. I don't care who fought, who fight for, or who fight for the other. I believe that we should recognize that period, and the best way to recognize it would be probably the first Monday or the Sunday between that date, or the Tuesday between that date, because maybe both of them happen on Tuesdays. So to me, I'm not sure if it was the government that suggested that solution some years ago. It was not taken up, but I believe that is a solution that would keep us away from the whitewash and the Clorox issues.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much indeed for your contribution. Our telephone number 435-2041. Of course, you can call and you can make your contribution to the discussion that we're having. I wanted to say, Arley, that in situations like this, and let me just quickly draw this this scenario. It may be a little different with the invasion and the revolution, in that with the invasion we had outside forces, but we also need to look at probably what bring about events like these. Now with the revolution, people were fed up with what was happening. There were things that were happening in the country that led to the revolution, and so there was an overthrow of the government. I believe a similar situation occurred on October 19th. The difference here being what happened got the attention of outsiders, and they came in. The legality or illegality of that I will not venture into, but I do believe in situations like this we cannot turn a blind eye to the human aspect of things. It has to be considered. I do believe that. So I think the question still remains, and I agree with you 100% that discussions like these are intellectual, and so we need to understand it. But at the same time, I also believe that we need to look at the human side of it. Let's go back to the telephone. We Culture, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, caller.
I hate to hear it when people say a good number of Grenadians die, plenty Grenadians die. It's a country so big that that we cannot calculate how many persons die. Now, Livingston mentioned that he mentioned a number, I think it's 3,000, I could be wrong, or over 3,000 persons were arrested, right, in Tivoli? In Grenada. So how come we can't tell how many persons die? On the other hand, we have what you call a so-called pandemic, world pandemic. And everybody who die now, die from the pandemic. No. I think, Godfrey, you mentioned earlier on that we don't know and we'll never know what happened. The fact is...
No, what may have happened following October 19th, yes.
Okay. But the thing is... Hello?
Yes, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
Right. The thing is, even though the truth is being told, everybody would not believe. Some will believe and some would not believe. So that will forever continue. It doesn't matter what is being said. You will always have some for and some against. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you, Ali. Yeah.
That caller is a lady of my heart. I agree with her. But let me comment briefly on the previous caller who made a suggestion with regards to the first Monday of October and so on. And I also heard my great friend, Paji Cherubin, making a similar suggestion with regards to a first Monday. In other words, neutralizing the pros and the cons of the 19th and the 25th. In other words, persons who, like myself, who believe October 19th should be D-Day, and other persons who believe that October 25th is D-Day. Now, let me tell you that I have been advocating October 19th in government, out of government. So I'm not one who run my mouth when I'm not in position to do so. I lobby based on my conviction. I do not support that position of a neutral day.
Yeah.
And there is no, in other words, it solves nothing. This idea what no, it doesn't solve anything. It's the same thing we have the first Monday in August for Emancipation Day. So much so that persons growing up really thought that first Monday in August was a Rainbow City Festival. They never appreciated that it was for one of the most watershed period in our history as a people, and that it was for emancipation, because it's just the first Monday in August. It's not the 1st of August. You see what I'm saying? So when you have these neutral days, the significance of it is usually lost through generations. They do not understand or appreciate the rationale for us doing so. The fact of the matter, in my respectful view, is that we need to face the facts and need to have that discussion. And the program tonight is a good start, a good initiative, but we must have a national discussion on it. Have town hall meetings on it. Let us hear why we should have October 19th or why we should have October 25th. I think all of us agree that October 25th should never be referred to as Thanksgiving Day, because it has nothing to do with us as a people and as a culture. And I reinforce the point that I think October 19th give us an opportunity to look beyond the Grenada Revolution. I keep making that point. You see, there are other heroes and heroines who would have served Grenada well outside of the 79-83 period. And as a society, as a country, we need to look beyond that period. We had when I sojourned for a short while with some responsibility for culture a few years ago, we had the literary festival around this time in October, because I really think that this particular period gives us a time for reflection, for reasoning, for debate, for discussion, for writing, and so on and so forth. In other words, October, the month of October, give the Grenadian people an excellent opportunity to raise our national consciousness and to learn from the lessons of our history. And I think that is to my mind, that is a context in which October 19 should be looked at. Not just the events on the 4th, where we lost a prime minister, ministers of government, and other persons. I think it gives us an opportunity to look beyond that. It's a catalyst for us to look at other aspects of our history, other aspects of our nationhood. I think that is how we need to look at it. That's just my respectful.
Okay. Squalls, you haven't said anything in a little while before we go back to the telephone.
All right.
I don't support this neutral day at all.
I don't support it either.
The neutral day is to duck. You know what is duck?
The neutral day is
in greater balance.
Yeah, the neutral day is to just look for what you call a solution, amicable solution. But
it's a convenient way to avoid.
Yeah, it's a convenience. Everything can be settled amicably. Sometimes you need either or. Here's what I've been listening, and I will sum up this thing. I want to make 2 points. One that relates to the whole thing of October 25th and how we see it, and what all of the questions that would have emanated from what Gill would have been mentioning as.
Scholar, you're muted. I think you hit your mute button.
Yeah. We have to understand that there is a legal argument, and then of course there is an emotional argument, and that's the whole thing. So the legal argument is what Gill was putting forward, and the fact is that as he correctly said, there are many nations which were born out of this same conflict and so on. And in time, I don't think that the question has ever been asked as to what would have happened. If there was some nation that could have invaded America when they were having the revolution, maybe they would have. But nobody did, and they solved the thing, and now they are the mighty America. All right, so that's the whole thing, but that's from a legal standpoint. But of course, when you make these legal arguments do not take in really the fact that we are experiencing what we experience, and there is always that fear, in your mind while you're experiencing stuff. I mean, after the fact, you can discuss things and say all kind of things. When we were experiencing Ivan, Ivan blowing wind and so on, I mean, Manfred, everybody will tell you that they're afraid who might have hit toilet, and so after the fact, you could discuss it. But when you're there in it, right, this is where the emotional thing comes in. And I think a lot of the emotions will stem from the fact that people felt then that probably if America did not invade, they themselves might not have been here. I mean, you hear Livingston proffer the argument. I know there are many people who are jailed, and when the Americans come, they got free. I mean, you can't tell these people, based on their experience, that there's a legal thing and there's a whatnot. They don't want to hear you. All they know is what they were experiencing, being illegally jailed, and somebody freed them. So they don't care about no legal thing. There were fellas, I remember there was a fella when they had the Corfu, and mango and lime and so on. And some soldiers chased them, man. I didn't even know if the soldiers chased them, or the soldiers just bantaing. by another man run the house there, and below there you have about, let's say, about 200 probably feet, and you're going down in a precipice and end up in the ravine. The man pass the house. He bang away and he end up mashed up down in the ravine. and them PRA, them gone about the business side, but the man afraid, right? So when you have people like this who have experienced a lot of these things, telling them about the legalistic issue, and I think this is where we're getting ourselves tied up, right? The whole and the fact that it is something that is, you know, academic and whatnot. They don't want to hear that. All they know is what they escaped from in their mind, and that's why the question comes, and that's what Godfrey talking about. It is from this standpoint, what would have happened, and so on. Eliminating totally, and don't want to hear of the fact that a lot of nations, they came through the same thing, and they are pretty much okay as it stands now. The second point I want to make is what Gill was making as to looking beyond, giving us an opportunity to look beyond. And I want to place on the table also that not just looking at our heroes and so on from the past, who people have made contributions, but also present, because Grenada is one of the countries where people who've made sterling contributions, we treat them like trash. I mean, this is one of the hallmarks of Grenada thing. People make contributions, and then for a day you hear a thing, and then after that they're gone and they're forgotten. And I mean, you could call a lot of, from Calypsonians to everybody good. To me, politicians might be treated a little better because you have one or two street names, Blaze and so on and so forth, right? I know Inspector has been lobbying for years to have some street in Sutter's named after him. He can't even get that, right? So we're good. You know, sometimes they say you give people the flowers after they pass. In Grenada, we don't give people flowers when they're there. We don't give people flowers when they pass. And so this gives us a very good opportunity to give people who are there making sterling contribution their flowers, and posthumously, when they were gone, give them the flowers as well. This gives us a perfect opportunity. And ironically and incidentally, we had some great Grenadian sons who've just passed on, who made sterling contributions to our society, people like Brother George, for example, Peter Bain, for example, right? So this conversation...
So why you don't give us a voice in heroes?
Well, that is not even enough. A voice in heroes ain't taking nothing from me. I could give you a voice, but I am calling really and championing. And this is where I see your argument going, and the fact that we must look beyond, because really and truly we have been very, as a nation, we have been very, very poor at this. And this goes right down to the heart of how we view, you know, people who have made sterling contributions to our culture.
Let's Ali, before you come back in, and we're going to go to Doc in a moment. Let's go back to our telephone. We Culture, good evening. Hello. Good evening, caller.
Good evening to the panels.
Yes, good evening. Go ahead, please.
I want to pass on my pennies, please. Not even 2 pence, a penny. I want to say, I believe in prophecy, yeah? Do you? The prophecy that I want to say is about, and a virgin shall bring forth a child, and they shall call his name Jesus. Do you believe that? Anybody believe that?
Caller, go with your contribution, please.
Okay,
yes, go ahead.
I want to say, if you are drowning and a cat come and save you, will you not tell the cat thanks whether it's God will say it or the cat had your own inspiration? Another one I want to say, that when Grenada was in difficulty, Grenadians couldn't save themselves. And the prophecy come out, I will send a mighty nation to deliver Grenada. And I believe that is what happened. God see Grenada could not be delivered by himself. So he sent a mighty nation. America didn't come here on its own. I could tell you that. Who want to believe it? Believe it. But I believe God sent America to deliver Grenada because she could not have handled herself. Okay?
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Doc, before we go back to the telephone.
Yeah, well, I just want to pick up probably with the last caller said. Now, irrespective of whether we look at the 19th or the 25th, I mean, and maybe let me start with the 25th. I think it is people who are grateful, they give thanks that the fact that we had a next nation, as devious as they probably are, but we had a next nation that came here to prevent further bloodshed. And I think a lot of people are thankful for that. Whether that should be the holiday or not does not take away from the fact that a lot of people felt relieved because the force gathered against Grenadians were too much for us to really consider fighting against. So that is one of the things. On the 19th, as it relates to our holiday, the day that is probably recommended, it is clear that we must take a stand how we're going to view that holiday. A day of reflection, a day of mourning. How are we going to view that holiday? And how are we going to justify that day, the story, the reason for the holiday to our children? As of now, we are justifying the 25th probably as a day we were rescued, the day we were saved, the day the bloodshed stopped, etc., etc. But we must now have an equal story in order to see how we are going to view on the 19th. And Ali, I don't know if you have thought about that, but I think it is a good way for you to interject. How would you see that day? Not just about how would you see the 19th? What would you see as a justification for us celebrating the 19th as our holiday? I think it's a good, I don't know if you thought about that, if you would maybe come in or comment later as based on what Godfrey thinks.
Yeah, Ali, you can respond. Mm-hmm. We'll go to the telephone after.
The day of reflection. Day of national reflection, really.
Ali, usually when they say day of reflection, they usually add day of reflection and prayers.
But I listen to you, Livingston. But I say what you're singing from the same hymn sheet as Papa Reagan. Rescue mission, save, all this kind of
No, man, you get it wrong. That's what I'm saying.
No, man. The U.S. invasion of Grenada is not a rescue mission.
No, Ali, I was telling you, irrespective of how, no, you get it wrong. I say irrespective of how people look at it. I am saying no.
The thing about the 19th, to my mind, is that the 19th is what would have led to the 25th. The 19th is when our Prime Minister, Ministers of Government, and fellow nationals died. And as I said, and Finley further expounded, I believe, and I keep saying, that it gives us an opportunity to look beyond revolution in a real sense, in terms of persons who would have made human contribution to national development. And it would have, the 19th will put our history, in my respectful view, on the proper footing. As it is now, October 25th, we are basically celebrating the invasion of a foreign power. That day, which we call Thanksgiving Day, is really and truly an imperial imposition by the United States. We never have no history and no tradition of Thanksgiving Day. And as such, it gives our history, our children, the wrong notion of what the significance of the period. the teaching of history. I say to persons all the time, we cannot teach the history of black people in the Caribbean from the period of slavery. We must go beyond and teach the history of our people when we were free people on the African continent. In other words, our history did not begin with slavery. We cannot trace our roots as a people enslaved. Similarly, I am saying that October 25th and the US invasion of Grenada is incidental to what transpired on the 19th. And I believe that the 19th, October 19th, being commemorated as Grenada National Heroes Day, a day of reflection, a day where we commemorate and celebrate the lives of Grenadians, not just those who passed on October 19, 1982. But as Finley correctly pointed out, persons who would have given human service throughout the history of Grenada, persons like Brother George and Peter Bain, those are national icons.
Can I just ask you, just point blank, if you prefer that the 19th be considered as Heroes Day, are you prepared to say that those that died on the foot were martyred, that they were heroes? Like question one. Secondly, are you also now going to say that those that killed were villains?
No. I heard
well, that's the number one.
I heard you made mention of that earlier on, and I deliberately ignored that part of your argument, in the sense that I am not here to christen or to condemn. You see, I'm not here to christen or condemn. I'm not here to...
But are you okay to answer number one?
No. I'm not here to judge anyone. That's beyond the point. To judge the actors of October 19, 1983. We knew what happened. We knew, all of us can admit, the entire nation can agree that what transpired on October 19, 1983 was wrong. It was unfortunate. Our country continued to suffer because of that. So that's the point. I do not. Our country suffered because of it, big times. Our country has lost because of October 19, 1983. The persons who died, at the very least, they are martyrs.
Okay, great.
I'm not here to christen some, and Livingston, I was not part of the revolution. October 19, 1983, I remember that vividly. I was playing football, barefoot, in the past year in Grenada. That's what I was doing. It was a rainy day. I was still in the mud. You understand? So I do not. That's another discussion.
Let me just butt in here a bit before we go back to the telephone. Are you saying that our country has suffered because of what happened on October 19th? And our country still continue to suffer. So, yeah, as a people. So and you see, this is where I have some difficulty, yet we are unable to probably make a determination as to, why the invasion then. And as I said, let me make it clear that I do not dispute the illegality of it. I agree with you totally there. But because of the amount of suffering, one that took place and continues to happen, I mean, why is it that more emphasis is not placed on what could have happened, and then put some I don't know if to call it justification, maybe that is not the correct word, but to sort of put into context maybe the bringing back then of stability to the country.
I think that Finley addressed that issue. Your argument continues to be one of emotions.
Well, we cannot separate. No. I don't agree. You see, let me tell you, we cannot. No, but we in a country, Arley, that is as small as Grenada, where everybody is somebody cousin or parent, and we do that all year round. How are we ever going to separate the emotion from that? You can't.
And I think for what you're asking, we have really sold ourselves short by not having a serious Truth and Reconciliation Commission as what South Africa had. We really sold ourselves short with regards to that. In other words, we still have these arguments, we still have this discussion, because seemingly nobody knows the truth as to what transpired in October 1983 and the months or the period leading up to that. We really need a serious Truth and Reconciliation Commission where the persons involved can say to the nation, this is what happened. And that continues to be a raw or so part of our national development. In that every time around now, fingers are pointed across the divide, and the blame is apportioned from one side to another, because we have never as a nation really speak to what transpired. The issue of the bodies of the persons on October 1983. Although more and more that issue from the presentation Brothers College Young Leaders Program research many years ago, we are seeing and we are learning, and we, more than likely that the United States authorities and so on very well may or do know what it is would have eventually happened with the bodies and so on. But I'm making a point that maybe now is not too late for us to call for a Truth and Reconciliation Commission where persons involved in whatever way, major way, minor way, we can all go to the Trade Center and so on, and we can just hear persons speak truthfully, knowing fully well that there will be no criminal or other prosecution filed against them for their involvement in what other way. We need to, that truth of October 19, 1983 is yet to be there. And that is part of the emotions that I believe is in our nation as a people. When I say that we have suffered, Godfrey and colleagues on the panel, I mean, one, we can agree that in the 4.5 years of the Grenada Revolution, we have made strides in education, health, and other areas of the economy that really and truly, since then, we have not achieved in as much in such a short space of time. And we have lost some of our greatest leaders. Two, for many years, I mean, now I think that we are healing bit by bit, and the divide in the country that was created by the events of October 1983 continue to haunt us. Families are divided, communities are divided, persons who lived as friends and grew up together. I mean, if you study the history, Bernard and Morris are best of friends growing up together. They're best of friends. You're talking about not just them as individuals, but their families were interconnected. Guys who were involved in the revolution and so on, they will tell you that they grew up in each other's house and so on. And October 1993 created that divide. And the country has suffered because of all those things. But I believe that a Truth and Reconciliation Commission will go some way in healing that divide. But we need to speak of it and speak of it openly and honestly, so that persons and so on can really get a truthful picture of it.
Okay. Let's
I affirm it's D-Day, not October 25th.
Okay, let's take some quick comments on Facebook because we're already getting close to wrap up time. Someone is saying we should have a Grenada Cuba Day. Someone says, yes, Ali, out of conflict comes synthesis and new growth. Someone said, I think October 19th should be given as a day to be reflected on, where the leadership, part of his cabinet, and citizens were gunned down by a faction of the military in order to seize and force themselves into power. Someone says, let us not forget Fidel Castro, who was very instrumental in the building of the infrastructure of Grenada. Someone says, very important topic, and I am very happy to see younger faces engage in this discussion. I was a student at IFE at the time. I was at Pearls. I was behind Gemma Belma, when she entered the PM residence, and I think the truth of the revolution and its collapse is yet to be told. Because of my experience on that day and losing students plus leadership, I see the 19th as the day. Someone said we have to remember that Morris Bishop captured the heart of Grenadians because the people loved him and saw him as one who carries the revolution on his back. So when he and others was murdered, the followers felt hurt, and although they didn't wanted America involvement, but at the same time wasn't going to accept the RMC and the way things went. Someone else said, I have become more and more convinced that October 19th has to be a public holiday, especially if we are going to continue to observe or recognize October 25th as a public holiday. Another person says, America was eager to overthrow the Grenada Revolution. Let us just see if we can get two final calls before because there are loads of comments, we can't get through them all. Let's go back to our telephone. We culture, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, sir, quickly.
Yeah. Doc, I would like to thank you for making things clear in your comments. I fully appreciate that. And we have to put sugar in the sugar bowl, rice in the container, and milk in the refrigerator. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller. Guys, we have to leave it here. So let me, Mr. Gill, Ali, let me give you a minute to make your closing comments.
In closing, I am of the firm view that October 19th should be considered as National Heroes Day. I believe also that it will put our history in a more proper perspective rather than October 25th. Of course, October 25th will always be significant, but I believe that October 19th is October 25th is only incidental to what transpired on October 19th. I believe it provides us an excellent opportunity to commemorate and celebrate outstanding Grenada heroes and heroines who have sacrificed a lot for the development of the country. And I, for one, do not partake or participate in any event or activity to commemorate Thanksgiving Day. I take no part in killing turkey or yardful or anything like that. I believe it puts our history on the wrong footing, and our nation will be better off to commemorate October 19th as National Heroes Day.
Okay, Doc?
That's my final comment.
Yeah, well, Ali, it was good to have you with us tonight. And I must say, when we consider October 19th, we must consider that there must be a lot more discussion as we tell this story, the perspective we put outside. I believe there is a need for more information, more of this dialogue. For matter of fact, I believe the whole month of October as of now should go forward. We should go forward in ensuring that there are more discussions. about the Grenadians that died, about the different ideology, about the role of the Cubans, the role of the Soviets, etc., etc. And I think when we celebrate October, when we think about October 19th, we must come up definite to say, well, okay, we have our heroes, we have those that killed, are the villains. We must definitely be boldly putting things in the proper perspective. As it relates to the legality of whether it's an invasion, etc., I think in the minds and hearts of a lot of Grenadians, it was a time when people felt total joy, legal or not, to see a foreign power coming here, although we know that the foreign power has always and would always have devious intention. Yet for that moment, on that day, for Grenadians, a lot of persons welcome them. That is not enough reason to celebrate for the holiday, but I think it is important for us to sometimes say thanks that happened. I would then come and join with Arley to say that the only how we can develop and the only how we can actually take what is ours is by what Grenadians do to Grenadians, how Grenadians can build for Grenadians. So nothing should be imposed, but in the whole dialogue, we must look at the whole picture and put the blame where it has to be. So I want to say thank you.
Right, Skulls, final comments?
Yes, well, I would want to take a different slant, really to Doc and Ali. Especially to Ali, because I think Ali is our guest. And if Ali is our guest, Ali should sum up the discussion in a way that he did. I want to just speak to the importance of such a program and such a panel and such a discussion to overall We Culture program and so on. Very early in the piece, you read a Facebook comment or one of the comments that said that the discussion tonight was too heavy for somebody's chest. So they say they can't make it. They dash out and so on.
No, actually, no, they didn't dash out. They just said it was heavy, but they did end by saying excellent program. Yeah.
Right. So and that's the thing about a program like We Culture. There will be the light days, the light Fridays, and we've been having some light Fridays for some time. And then there would be the more intellectual discourse. And I have not heard a better piece of intellectual discourse on We Culture than we've had tonight. I am trying to bring my mind back. And I can't remember. We've had a lot of guests and so on. Many of them were excellent. But I think the richness of the discourse tonight, it cannot be understated. And the Grenadian public, because we have a very strong viewership, listenership, whatever ship, the Grenadian public was better off for that discussion tonight. We Culture was better off for this discussion tonight. And very, very soon, I foresee that Ambassador Gill will be back, because we have not really discussed Kaiso and all these things, which are really his pet stuff. All the history thing, going in convention and all these things. History and lion thing, those are his vocations. Kaiso is way bad. Don't worry. So I foresee that we'll have you back at some other time. Finally, I want to say that maybe with all of this and all this rich discourse that we've been hearing and what Livingston has been saying and what Ambassador has been alluding to, we may need to actually have a Grenada History Month, because we don't celebrate these things, you know, we don't put Grenada history and things into its proper perspective.
It's a very good suggestion, actually. Very good suggestion.
Yeah, maybe the whole of October should be actually be Grenada History Month. You know, it's something that we could think about. But excellent program, and I'm only sorry, really, that our Facebook contributors we did not get them more into and get their side of the whole thing. And we can put that down to Reece's absence. So next week when Reece come, they could do Reece all kind of thing. Don't put him out. Reece can cause that.
Thank you, guys. Well, first, let me say special thanks to Arley for accepting the invitation to be on the program. As I told you earlier, it was our intention to have you on the program on numerous occasions. It's just that we didn't get it wrong. But now that you're here and you get your foot wet, you can rest assured.
10 o'clock usually past my bedtime, eh?
Yeah, well, that's when you're not. When you're not on the program. So definitely, we will be looking forward to having you back. Thank you so very much again, of course, for the discussion. Very rich, as the guy said, and I really enjoyed it. And of course, Dark Scholar, thank you guys again for being here. Our Facebook fans, there were so many comments, folks. I do apologize, but it's sort of difficult for me to get them because they scroll by very quickly, and so I missed some of them. So I do apologize. There were quite a lot on our WhatsApp platform as well. We just couldn't get all our telephone people. Again, we apologize, but thank you very much. And of course, discussions like these will continue because they all play a part in shaping our culture. So thank you once again. Thank you all, and do have a good night. All the best.